Howdy, my name is Jaron Johnson, and this is my speech too. In America and many places around the world, we don't have to worry about what religion we believe in, what traditions we follow, or what we do with our day-to-day lives, because of our First Amendment right, which is given to us in America, which is the freedom of religion and freedom of speech. And with that, I ask you the question, what would you risk to read a Bible? Because in North Korea, just owning a single page of scripture could mean execution. And with that, we often take for granted our freedoms, like things like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly. And learning about how others have those rights denied can help us fully appreciate what we have and and it can also compel us to speak out and speak up for others around us. And the underground church in North Korea is a powerful example of perseverance and faith among an underrepresented and persecuted people group um, who have made their commitment to worship God, even under extreme government oppression. And it truly challenges our understanding and our reason of religious freedom today, and reflecting in that, in reflecting that the gifts and things that we were given today are a gift, and some people don't have that gift. And that is often overlooked, and people often are oblivious to what is going on over there because of extreme censorship from the North Korean government. And today we'll be looking at four things. First being the history of Christian suppression, second being the underground church's current state and their operations, and the third being the implications this has for how we perceive freedom and resilience, and lastly, just the current day support and what's going on with the oppressed. And with that, just a little bit of history. Um, North Korea used to be a Christian nation, or a lot of Christians were in this area. And then when the North fell in 1945, um, and the communist leader took over, a severe persecution was launched, and extraordinary efforts were taken to annihilate the faith. And then in since 2002, since this time, this has never um, been the same. And since 2002, it's been named um, the number one place um, the number one most dangerous place for Christians. And and even in December of 2022, the government made it illegal to own a Bible, even have possession of a Bible or scripture. They made it illegal and punishable of execution, execution to being even killed on the spot. And with that, if you were found in possession, your family members could also be tried and sent to labor camps and sent to other things that just really made it a lot of weight to have a Bible or have something involving Christianity in your possession. And what the underground church looks like today is there's over 204,000 estimated members, people who are currently being persecuted and oppressed from the government and fleeing. And over 100,000 people are being aided through secret networks and radio networks. Um, but they're still persevering and still going on, doing things like memorizing scripture, and relying on these things like the radio stations that are sending encouragement to these believers, sending areas of support, and just giving guidance and calls out to the people that are fighting against the government. And just moving on to the human costs and response, despite violations and international putback, and these laws and these enforcements have only intensified rather than declined, unfortunately. And the government has continued to ramp up their um, crackdown on these Christians in North Korea. And in 2014, the UN concluded that North Korea was not only committing illegal crimes, they're also committing crimes against humanity. And just lastly, the global support and just roles of defectors. Smuggling networks like Open Doors and Voice of the Martyrs work nonstop to deliver Bibles, food, medicine, treatment, encouragement, just things like that to help these people that are in need. And but also the biggest advocates of the underground church are people that have fled from North Korea and then have since settled down in surrounding areas. And then they have in turn launched efforts to um, support these Christians and send support back to the border. And these courageous defectors serve as lifelines, encouragement to these believers, and even it shows even in their darkest times that people still have hope and still have faith and still remain true to what they truly believe in, even when a people group or a government try to oppress that. And that is just very inspiring. And in conclusion, the underground church in North Korea just really pushes us to reflect, pushes us and demands us to reflect on our freedoms and our responsibilities that we have as a free nation, a nation that is not being censored by our government, a freedom that a country that allows us to believe what we want to believe, say what we want to say, post what we want to post, and do things that we feel is the right to do. And the North Korean underground church just shows just so much hope and how even in the darkest times, even in um, our hardest times, that we can still endure and that we can still continue on because there are people out there that are going through so much more worse things like being persecuted and being suppressed to the point of death if they are caught. And just allowing us to reflect on the freedoms that we have in America and also just when things get hard and when we think that something isn't going our way or we should be allowed to do this thing, that we can reflect and be grateful for what we have because there are people in another country that are not able to do even the basics that we think we have. And so with that, that is the end of my speech. And thank you for listening.